Right then, we are live. Good evening. Well, I've lost me. As ever, we have techie glitches at Dragon HQ. That was a complete cock up my end, but that's how I always roll here. Bear with me, because of course I've been trying to on a chat thing to StreamYard, trying to work out how to sort out, because I couldn't hear Kate, but she could hear me. So anyway, so hence not being at all organised. I've only just got my bottle of water. Bear with me. I'll introduce Kate in a minute. Be back in a sec. Hang on. Where's my dog? Don't know. You still got treacle, Kev? Okay, cool. No worries. Right. Oh, we got 11 on already. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for joining us on this amazing full moon. I was just outside giving the dogs a wee just now. And at the back of our garden, there's right across the other side of the field, there's a gap in a set of fir trees. I could just see the moon coming through the gap on the foliage, about a quarter of a mile away. Oh my God, it's huge. So, yeah, amazing full moon tonight. So right then, we've got 10 of you already. So thank you so much for joining us. And the reason that I've asked Kate to come on to do the full moon chat tonight is because obviously whenever I put anything up about a really crappy sleep, full moon's killing me, whatever, you lot go, oh my God, yes, I'm really this, I'm really that, I can't sleep, it's this, it's no, all kinds of stuff going on. And I thought, you know, what can I do about that? And now I've worked with Kate for 2-3 years.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So Kate is my medical herbalist, because I can't do doctors very well. I don't do doctors' drugs very well. And so I've used herbalists for about 20 years. Anyway, so I've been working with Kate now for about 3 years, and she's an absolute bloody amazing woman. And I thought, you know what, you guys could probably do with a bit of Kate, really, if you're having problems with anxiety, stress, sleeplessness, or whatever that's, you know, happening around. Obviously, we'll be focusing around the full moon, because that's where we are at the moment. But, you know, Kate will quite happily answer your questions. We can put all the links up so you do all your consultations on Zoom at the moment, love, don't you? All the phone.
Yeah, they're all on Zoom. The first one is ideally on Zoom for the face-to-face. So for insurance purposes, we have to do face-to-face as the first ones. Otherwise, then it can be telephone if people prefer that. But on the whole, everything's on Zoom at the moment.
Yeah, which is, you know, we've all had to adapt, haven't we?
Yeah. And actually, it's been quite interesting. It hasn't impacted an awful lot. And for me, I mean, there's some bits I can't do, so I can't do some of the pulse diagnosis. It's not quite so easy to see people's tongues via Zoom. That's quite interesting, seeing people's tongues up and close or over the screen. That's a really weird experience. And I can't do things like take people's blood pressures and check their ears and do any sort of, you know, physical examinations if needed. But it hasn't detracted from being able to read body language, from being able to get a sense of what people are experiencing. And for me, and I know there are other herbalists who, interestingly enough, find it's completely deadened it for them. They prefer to do things over the telephone. So they're the ones who pick up more about their clients through oral than necessarily through sight. So for them, Zoom actually hasn't, you know, going online hasn't been great. But I'm very fortunate in that I find it quite easy to actually continue to read body language and intuit what people are trying not to say or want to say but don't know how to say the words, or they don't want to say it, so their bodies tell me, and sometimes that's all you need to hear.
Fantastic. So Kate is an absolute she's just amazing when it comes to herbs. And she's got me out of more dark holes and things than I care to think about, because she's just been quite incredible. So I'm going to hand over to Kate Parker. She's your British medical herbalist. Is that right, Kate?
No, more of a Western. I think you're more Western, as opposed to British. It's more Western herbal medicine.
Yeah. Is there a difference? Well, what is the difference?
Well, there isn't actually such a thing as a British medical herbalist. That would just be denote your nationality, as opposed to a style of practicing or an energetics that you follow or anything like that. So that primarily in the Western Hemisphere, for want of another description, people follow. Most practitioners start with either a science background. So my background is a Bachelor of Science in phytotherapy, which is plant healing. So, you know, that was a medical degree with herbs as opposed to drugs. So we covered what they would cover in drugs, but with herbs instead. And then other people then do more humoral medicine. So they might do more of the energetics in the Western, and that is your Western herbal medicine approach. And that's, so your humors are your phlegmatic, your sanguine, your choleric, and your, I always miss one, sanguine, choleric, phlegmatic, melancholic. So there's four. Melancholy
in English, darling. Sorry, what does that all mean?
So sanguine is hot and dry. So choleric is hot and dry. So more your summer. Phlegmatic is cold and moist. So more your autumn. Melancholic is your cold and dry. So your winter. And sanguine is more your spring. So your hot and wet, hot and damp. So those are the sort of the energetics that come with it. So if you are a more of a phlegmatic person, and you get, so you're cold and damp, which is your, so if you think about the autumn, things like bronchial conditions, more often seen on the different equinoxes. So your autumn and your spring, but more often in the autumn. So if you give somebody a phlegmatic herb, you're going to encourage that wet and that dampness. So you're going to worsen the condition.
So what am I then, Kate? If you can remember off the top of your head, obviously you've got
off the top of your head. No, off the top of your head, I think you are more sanguine. More sanguine. But a lot of people tend to be too. You know, you very rarely get. You know, you very rarely epitomize one particular humor. You tend to be two, very rarely three. You're never all four, and then you'll have preponderances more one way or the other, depending on where you are within your life, depending on your etc. There's lots of, you know, then you've got variations on a theme.
Cool.
And that's Western herbal medicine. And then you've got, within that, you've also got physiomedicalism, but that also works with the humours. And then you've got a bit of history there. And then the other, paperwork flying. I use my hands a lot. And then the other, so I do a little bit of that. And then I also incorporate traditional Chinese medicine diagnostics into my practice. So I don't do acupuncture, but I bring in the diagnostics of it. So
heads of pulse taking up here and things like that.
Pulse, yeah, and tongue examination. Although I'm just about to actually embark on the next learning for Western humoral medicine, and actually start to understand how to do tongues and pulses from that angle as well. Because I find it's quite interesting. I find some people come across much more from a TCM angle. Some people are very clearly a humoral angle. And then actually, interesting, some people are very clearly scientific. And so how people come across then depends on what language I use when I'm trying to describe what's happening to them. I mean, I've made the mistake before where I started talking to somebody in a very TCM way, and they've looked utterly blank at me, and I could feel them withdrawing. And the moment I hit some science with them, they came back and joined the conversation. I was like, okay, let's go back into this way, shall we?
And it depends who you're talking to how you put it across, isn't it? Yeah,
very much so. And people like hearing that their chi is stagnated, or they've got liver yang rising, or their spleen chi deficient, or their kidney is in a form of stasis, or people quite like that, or their triple burner is stagnant. It's great description terms. You know, triple burner, by the way, is your digestive system in a very, very simple nutshell. But it just, sometimes the language is so descriptive that actually people can really sort of like hang their perceptions and hang what they're experiencing on it and go, yeah, that makes sense. And
it's actually could give you quite a visual, can't it? Right, let's just say hello to some people. We've got 13 on, and some people come on and said hello. So we got hi Jackie, Tanya, Veronique, Serena, Fred. That was my son. Take the whistle off. Oh, I've got my dog whistle on still.
I found that quite reassuring, if I'm honest. I found that quite reassuring. I was like, yes, Caroline's still got a dog whistle. Brilliant, we're informal.
Yeah, I put this on the minute I get out of bed, and I take it off when I go to bed, because it's the only way I can control my dogs.
Who needs jewelry? Who needs jewelry?
Absolutely. So I'm setting a new trend. Tanya said, like, Rich, you really need your link, please. Yeah, I'll make sure that all Kate's links go up before we finish, or once we finish, all the links will go into chat. So we'll make sure that's done. Hi, Karen. Hello, Victoria. How are you, my love? And hi, Michelle. So we've got somebody from South Africa. We've got France. I know we've got Canada. We've got the States. We've got good old Surrey. That's where my son is. So we're quite an international little bunch here. Okay, I've gone off a complete tangent what we said we were going to talk about, because that's what I do.
Yeah, we have these sorts of conversations, don't we, Caroline? Anyway, we kind of veer all over the place. It's they're wonderful.
Right, let me hand over to Kate properly and let Kate talk to you about what she wants to talk to you about. And guys, as is the norm, ask your questions, ask away, and I'll interject with some questions. I'll go, what? I didn't understand that, Kate.
Please do. So, hi, thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for having me, Caroline. It's lovely to be here. This is my first time using StreamYard. So if I miss questions, Caroline, thank you very much for saying that you'll grab those. So yes, so this is slightly new to me. So if I apologize if I suddenly vanish. You never know what may happen. It's a full moon. Anything can happen.
Oh, yes. Technology. Yeah. Love it, don't we, Kate?
So my practice is horse chestnut herbals. So just a brief thing, it combines my two passions. It combines my passion for horses and passion for herbs. And I have to say, of all the blossom that comes up in the spring, I love the candles of horse chestnuts. They're just beautiful. And when you get a line of horse chestnuts and a line of candles, they're beautiful. I do have a preference. I have a preference for the white candles. I'm not so keen on the pink ones. There we go. small but insignificant detail. Do you? Oh,
I love the pink candles. Yeah.
Oh, I like the white ones. I like the ones with a little bit of pink in them. Bit of cheekiness comes through. So yeah. So like I was saying earlier, I did a Bachelor of Science degree in phytotherapy, and I've now been in practice for coming up 14 or so years now, which is quite extraordinary. When I started realizing that, I was like, oh my gosh. So yes, I'm based in just outside of Alresford, and I've got a small family as well, and animals. As Caroline, I think you've met our dogs, haven't you?
I like your dogs, the big dogs.
The big dogs. We have a deer hound. So we're very much an animal friendly, small person friendly sort of environment over here. But so Caroline asked me to come and talk to you about the effects of a full moon, and why does it affect us? What can you do about it? Can you do anything about it? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it just the full moon, or does the new moon affect us? What does it tell us? And it's quite interesting because this comes up quite a lot with herbalists, and people come up going, oh, somebody's experiencing this more often than a full moon. And then massive conversation as people will say, yeah, I get this too. And yeah, I get this too. And I'm understanding from Caroline that quite a lot of you have similar sort of experiences when it comes to the full moon. So I thought I'd start by sort of trying to explore, why does the moon affect us? Well, from a science perspective, it's fairly inconclusive still. As always, I suspect they're never going to conclusively prove it, because the techniques to prove this haven't been developed. And I think that's why they can't prove it. It has been, however, cited through history how the full moon affects people. That's where you get the lunatics from, and people have seen it. Midwives, I know midwives who frequently talk about the number of births that increase, and babies coming quicker into the world, and dogs behaving and cats behaving more manically as well. Not quite so seen in horses, interestingly enough. Thank heavens, they're a bit big to behave manically. But the one thing they have noticed is that there are some marine mammals whose reproductive cycle correlates with that of the moon cycle. So I know, it's pretty cool. So there is the beginning glimpses of science catching up with what the rest of us all already know, which is, you know, quite nice. You know, science eventually catches up a lot of the times. Saying all of that, we are sort of 75% water. So why we wouldn't be affected by the moon, I don't know. It's almost as if we are trying to prove something that we already know. It just makes, from a common sense perspective, for me, it just makes sense that we would be affected by the moon.
Is it a water balance within our body then, Kate? Because you have the moon pulls the tides, you get super tides. Does our water become imbalanced, like goes cockeyed like scales, or does it?
Do you know, do you know what? I have to be really honest. I looked this up, and I looked at it from a science angle. I looked at it from an energetic level. I looked at it with herbalists, and there wasn't anything conclusive to say because the moon pulls. It pulls water in us. So there's nothing conclusive to say that. So I have to be really honest and say I can't really say that for sure. However,
so the brain. So I'm sorry to interrupt you. So the brain, obviously, we need a whole range of fatty acids in our brain to make our brain work well. They're the good fatty acids, and I guess there's a strong water element in our brain as well, isn't there? Yeah.
And if you think about what the moon is doing, it's really pulling. So it's going to be, so if you think about all the signs people experience and the symptoms people experience during full moons, you know, busy minds, poor sleep, headaches, anxiety, everything gets ramped up. So everything is getting pulled. You know, everything is going out of balance, which makes sense.
I suppose also it illuminates things maybe we've ignored through the dark moon. And the full moon maybe illuminates these things that we've been ignoring.
Yeah, fun enough, actually, that absolutely. Well, I have to say that is something that has come up, and I do see there's things like people developing migraines and getting worse migraines, worse headaches during the full moon. And the moon is, exactly as you just said, shining a light on when you are doing something that you don't want to be doing. So it's making you feel debilitated. So you're getting like someone called it a moon head. And, you know, it could be that you're eating the wrong thing. So with migraines, it could be you're eating more dairy, for instance, just for, you know, you could have had that glass of red wine without thinking about it. It could be that you are, your boundaries have been crossed and you're in a toxic friendship relationship and you haven't learned the skill, haven't figured out the skill to be able to hold that boundary, which is a huge thing to do in the first place anyway.
And it blows up the full moon.
Yeah, so you develop a migraine because there's a lot of, not a lot, migraines have lots of different potential causes, but one thing that comes up time and time again, regardless of the cause, is how the vagal nerve is disrupted.
And that's a big one that goes through here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big one that starts at the back of the neck, back of the head, sorry, goes down, comes down across through your chest, either side of the chest, down through your stomach, and then stops midway down your thighs, which is why some people develop migraines starting with pains in their thighs.
Good God.
So I've got patients where their migraine, they know they're getting a migraine when their pain starts coming in their thighs. And it's because the vagal nerve has been disrupted and dysregulated.
Good grief.
And then they come up and then they get digestive disturbances, and then it comes up and then they might get a tightening of the chest, and then they get the pain starting at the back, and then it sweeps over, at which point then they are in full blown, for them, you know, it might be auras, it might be dark room, etc. Yeah.
Because when my boy was little, he was, I don't know, under 10, he was absolutely crippled. He had a whole series of these, I mean, absolutely crippled with tummy pains. This was post being on
antibiotics?
No, the ADHD drug that is a big no-no.
Ritalin.
This was post Ritalin. And I thought, we were wondering whether it was like a overhang from that. He's only on it for 3 months, but that was, you know, but it wasn't. And we had the doctor out at, I don't know, 2 o'clock in the morning, because honest to God, he was in agony. And he said it's abdominal migraines.
Yeah.
Which children get them in their tummies rather than in their heads.
Yeah.
And thankfully, he's grown out of it. And as far as I know, he doesn't. Are you still here, Fred? I don't think he gets migraines. He's never said he has migraines. But yeah, he was for about 2-year period. He would get these migraines in his tummy. Oh my God, he was in bloody agony, poor bugger.
Yeah, it's commonly seen in children. Very definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's worth. We mentioned about marine mammals having a cycle. It's also worth mentioning that parasites and worms also follow a lunar cycle as well. So people may think that they've got rid of the worms, but they need to get an itchy bottom, and so they'll. And that's because the worms have started reproducing again. In those with Lyme disease, particularly both the Borrelia, but also one of the co-infections, Babesia, that a majority of people have. Babesia is a co-infection with the Borrelia infection, which is your Lyme. That is a cyclical effect as well. So that ebbs and flows, which is why a lot of people there get really quite confused about what's wrong with them, because symptoms come and go because they are going in a cycle and it is following the moon.
Good God. And the thing is, and it's, I think it's incredibly sad that our doctors, who see the majority of patients, actually don't know this stuff, do they?
No, they don't.
That is so sad.
Yeah, it would be helpful.
It would be really helpful.
I'm sorry, I didn't really mean that to be quite so. So it's with full moon, it's the water signs. And I know that you're all probably well familiar with the water signs. So, your Cancer, your Scorpio, and your Pisces. And so those who are your water signs get a lot more affected by the full moons.
Really?
Yeah, because they have a really strong connection to the really strong connection.
Yeah.
So it's kind of so if you are a water sign, then that's something worth bearing in mind. And one of the things I know, Caroline, you were asking me was, are there any top tips? And actually right now, one of the top tips would be, and I think I've mentioned this one to yourself, is that when you've got a full, put in your diary, note when the full moon is and block out that period of time, block out the day before, the day after. And you have 3 days where it is just you and your family, where it is just you put in things that are your favorites, so that you've got things to look forward to, things that are going to support you, nourish you, give a bit of self-care. I can't think of an alternative phrase for self-care. It's been bandied around so much these days. But it's things like you're having baths, making sure you've got some Epsom salts in, making sure you've got yourself a bunch of flowers, your favorite foods. And there might not necessarily be the red wine and the chocolates, but it might be, I don't know, a really nice pot of upmarket hummus. I don't know, for example, that just gives you that little bit of a treat, your favorite movie. And when you do things like that and you start to put in those sorts of breaks into your month and recognize that you're going to have that dip, you don't get quite such a dip. Yeah. Because you aren't fighting it, because half of the issues that people experience, the busy minds, the headaches, the anxiety, the vulnerability, the more emotional aspects of it, and actually slightly hyper, is being fed by it's being fed by the fact that people aren't stopping and giving themselves that space and that time. So they're staying in that wind up period when their bodies are saying, actually, I really need you to slow down.
Absolutely. I know it took me a long time to integrate that, and actually one of my things this year, I don't make New Year's resolutions because I don't keep them, and nor does 99.9% of the population. But one of the things that I did do this year, and I think it probably might have started at Samhain when I started walking the Wheel of the Year in the Labyrinth, was that actually I need to follow the moon diary and follow my moon diary much more carefully, and because I can be out of action for between 5 and 8 days around the full moon. I can feel awful for that long. And actually last full moon and this full moon, touch wood, I've actually been fine. And I haven't had awful night's sleep. I seem to be going towards the new moon now. It's like, oh, it's done a flip on me.
I'll come to that in a minute, actually. It's absolutely. So just another part that's quite interesting about the moon. So the other thing that sort of a bit of connection that goes on is that the moon is considered cold and moist, like water and phlegm are. And so water is the element. So when we're talking, in herbal medicine, and both in TCM, I think it's in Tibetan, Ayurveda, it's got its own elements, but they have very similar elements. And then you've got your Galenic or your Western humoral medicine, and they all have elements. You've got your wood, fire, earth, air, and water in some way, shape, or form within each of those traditions. And the phlegm is the phlegm in Western humoral medicine has the lungs is where it is received. So if you think of bronchial complaints, you can imagine all the phlegm here. And the lungs themselves are then actually governed by the moon and Venus or Venus. So Venus and the moon are interchangeable. But the interesting thing then that ties it in is that in traditional Chinese medicine, your lungs are where a lot of emotion is held. So a lot of grief, a lot of sadness, a lot of anxiety. So then you can start to see how TCM is connected to Western humoral medicine, which is connected to the fact that the moon plays on us. And you can see where we're all experiencing reactions and effects from the moon.
Good.
And then to tie in, even further, when people have a busy mind and can't get to sleep and have poor sleep, around this time, usually within full moons, people wake between the hours of 2 and 4, possibly 1 and 3, that sort of period of time.
Yeah,
2 and
4 always.
Yeah, in TCM, traditional Chinese medicine. TCM, traditional Chinese medicine. In TCM, that is when your lungs are clearing out and detoxifying and opening up, which is when people who are struggling for a lot of having processed grief or struggling with stress or anxiety or worry, they wake up at the time of when the lungs are trying to clear everything out, and it can't quite clear everything out. So the lung energy is low. And then you tie that in, and then you go back to the moon, and hey presto, you've got a nice big circle of everything joins together. So again, if you're waking, I know. So if you're waking between 2 and 4, it doesn't necessarily mean that so just put a caveat onto this. There are other reasons why you may be struggling with sleep. There's lots. It is a huge subject in itself.
Yeah, of course.
However, if you're waking between 2 and 4, and it's not an everyday issue, then it's worth checking in with yourself. What is bothering you? You don't necessarily need to say it out loud. You don't need to tell anybody. Yep. You may even not want to say to yourself what's bothering you. Yeah. But just recognizing that you know that something is bothering you.
Yes.
Takes the pressure off trying to sleep in that hour if you are struggling to go back to sleep.
I get up. If I'm really that bad, I get up, and that's when I journal. And it's normally because I know there's something bothering me, and it could be something, it could be something so stupid that I could have done a live. I think, oh shit, I didn't do that very well, and you give yourself a really hard time over it.
Yeah.
Or I
didn't
go and do something I should have done. And those sort of things become so big, especially around the full moon, become so big in your mind. And they're the ones that wake me up, and they're the stress. They say I'm professional. If you let people down, I'm sure you guys can all relate to this on one level, because it's all those kind of things, Kate. It is for me. If I do the 2 to 4 wake up.
And then just another connection with the full moon and water is that often that's the hour that people often wake up to go to the loo.
Yeah.
And it's or get a drink. And it's not because it's not necessarily because they've drunk water far too close to bedtime. It's in fact, in the TCM clock, diametrically opposite it is when the gallbladder is working. So if you are struggling with your lungs, it usually means, and with your gallbladder in TCM, it's connected to your kidneys. And in TCM with your kidneys, that's when you are talking about people who are depleted, to people who are running on empty, burning the candle at both ends.
Yeah.
And so again, you've got your water element, your water connection, connecting to the lungs, connecting to your sleep, connecting to the moon, connecting to why you're feeling anxious.
Well,
pretty incredible.
Buggered.
I have to say, I love things like this. I love it when dots get joined and you suddenly, I think, just makes a little bit of sense.
It does. Well, we've got lots of wows. Interesting. Paula, hi ladies, this is being recorded. I'd like to see the special info with migraines. Yeah, so obviously this will be available. You can share it to Sister now, P, if you want to, and she'll be able to catch it up. Or yes, it'll be on my page once it's finished. Oh, thanks for answering that, Strange. You already answered it. So it says, wow, makes a lot of sense, explains a lot. Debbie said, Debbie's on. Yes. Wow, totally makes sense. So before we go any further, has anybody got any quick questions for Kate? Before, I'm sure Kate's got lots more to tell us. But just while we both take a breath, because my brain's gone, holy moly, and I've worked with herbalists for 20 years. You know, I've had herbal medicine for 20 years. Even I've gone, bloody hell. So has anyone got any questions for Kate just while we both take a breather, and I'll just make sure I haven't missed anybody to say hello to. So, oh, hi Peggy, so I missed you, darling. Hello, you, hope you're well. Michelle, hi Michelle. What have I done here? Let's have a look. Oh, so Veronique's saying that she works the other way around, and her migraines usually come around the dark moon. Well, we haven't got to dark moon yet.
I will tell you. Yes, I think that might be.
Jojo, do we want to go there next then, Kate? Is that where you want to go next?
Yeah, let's go for there.
Go on then, Kate. Well, you can type your questions while Kate's talking.
Okay, so new moons. So new moons are more about people sleeping a lot more. People feel a little bit more hopeful. Now, I will come on to the migraines in a minute, Veronique. I haven't forgotten. Also, the fact that, Caroline, you're saying you're shifting more towards the migraine, more towards the new moon, the dark moon. There's a little lift in energy now, and a lot more people actually find themselves sleeping loads because they are really slowing down and becoming more gentle. If your body is going opposite to that, so you are having sleep problems, you are developing migraines, and you're doing everything the wrong way around, so to speak, is, you know, from what we were saying earlier.
Full moon.
Yeah, totally. That tells me that you are in a state of tension, that your body cannot follow it through. It means that you are not in a place to be able to relax. It means that you are holding yourself together. And again, this is where we're talking about with Zoom and what have you. So, you know, normally it's quite easy face to face, but when you're on screen, so if your body is like this, so, you know, I'm not that tense, by the way, everybody, but when you're like this, it's very hard for your body to flow into what the new moon is asking you to do. So it means that you can't follow the moon. It means that there is some other issues that are stuck within you that can't quite come through. Now, that, interestingly enough, if it's not happening for you on the full moon, and you're not getting that migraine on the full moon, you're not getting the restlessness on the full moon, it's because you're already there. It doesn't need to be. So for you as the individuals, again, this is individuals. So we're talking down to specifics. You know, we've done general, so everyone here is individual. So if you aren't experiencing them during full moon, it's because you are at your your zenith, the peak of being tight. So therefore you're already following it, you're already doing it together, so you're already in that zone. You're not going to notice anything different. The new moon is when things are meant to be different. So you are seeing a greater impact.
Now that's really interesting, because you probably saw my post that February's been a bitch for a month. And I spoke to Kate about this on Zoom the other day, because it has been a bitch for a month. And actually, you know, at the beginning of the month, my husband did his back and he's still not right. We've had massive issues with his mum, who's very, very elderly, very, very frail, and got advancing dementia. You know, we were having ambulances at 3 o'clock in the morning. We were having her kicking off and trying to get out of bed. We had the whole shebang, the whole fucking shit show started at the beginning of February, I mean, it's all around the new moon. So of course we were like this because we just didn't know what was next to be the next bloody calamity. Then we decided to get into the dog. In the middle of it all, what were we thinking? Actually, she's been my sanity, to be fair. But of course, then that's so with what you're saying, that ties back to the last new moon that I was just so wound up, and I'm sure some of you guys again can relate to this. That I was just because we were dealing with so many unknowns, and literally things were changing hourly with the mother-in-law. You know, so that's why so that just explains why I was just so. Yeah.
And I would say, you might think it's bonkers that you got a dog, but I would say actually you followed exactly what your body needed, or what you as a family needed. So the dog grounds you, steadies you. You have to be calm. You can't, when you're around animals, if you are agitated, they become restless and agitated within themselves. Yep. So you met your need. Your body was saying, I need some grounding. I need something to bring me back down and put my feet on the earth. I need my head to come down to my feet.
Yeah.
And one of you things, because you've already got a dog, you're already that way inclined.
Yeah.
You went and got a dog, and that has brought you back out into the countryside. That's brought you back out into the fresh air. That's brought you back down to the ground. Yeah. It made you go calmer. It's made you be quieter. So it's really interesting when people say, feel really mad, we've got ourselves yet another animal, but actually often there is actually a more of a subliminal reason why people get those animals.
And what I my and P will vouch for this if you're still on P, that you get the dog you need, not the dog you want, and because we both use the same dog trainer.
Yeah.
And it's through he came from my dog trainer. And he knew this dog was up for rehoming, and he knew that we'd been looking for about a year for another dog. And he just rang out the blue and said, this dog's available. She's cracking. I've worked with her. I know her. She's perfect for you. Do you want her? It's like, oh my God, just please. And I just grinned. I grinned for a week.
Lovely.
And she's cracking. She's fabulous. But anyway, we detract completely.
Yes.
My dog.
So just wanted to. So when we're talking about bringing things back to herbs, because I can you can go esoterical and all of this lot for a bit, but so herbs, when you're looking at this, so for all of this, things like if you're into your smudge sticks and things like that, mugwort, mugwort's quite helpful. If you burning is a smudge stick. I also use mugwort for somebody who really resonates with this time of year. So it's a very dark time of year. They're not a dark person, but they like being in the dark, and they go through the dark and out into the light, and they use mugwort as in drops to help them come through the darkness, feel supported within the darkness, and keep going through to the light, so they don't get stuck in the darkness. So they use it in that way. So slight tangent here, St. John's wort, there's lots of other benefits to it, but one of the things that we as herbalists are often quite careful with when you're using it to support people for any of their emotional needs is you have to be quite careful, because one of the things that St. John's wort does, if you think of the leaf with the little prick holes where you can see the red oil in it, when you hold it up to the light, St. John's wort will shine a light into the dark corners of that person, and they may not be ready to see those dark corners. They may not be ready to go there. So you have to be quite careful who you give St. John's wort to. It's something that you have to bear in mind. Are they strong enough to deal with you asking them to go into that little bit of that corner of themselves that they may not want to go into? And that might be why they are in that state of low mood, that state of depression. So you have to, so St. John's wort, you are quite careful with according to that individual.
It's quite interesting. People think about herbs, and the same with essential oils and and those type of things. Oh, they're natural, they're safe. And actually, in the wrong hands, they can be bloody lethal.
Yeah, they can be. They can be really, really lethal. I mean, bringing back to this topic, some of the moon herbs are in fact your poisons and your toxins. So your henbane, your opium, they're all plants of the moon. Because what they do is they cool the body so much, they chill it so much that there's no warmth breath left in the body.
Well, if they use it in the wrong way.
Yeah, if they use, they have that power to cool and chill the body because they are cold. They chill the body so much. I know.
That's quite shivery just thinking about that.
It is. It's really shivery. I mean, I have to say, I've got some of what you would call toxins. They are restricted herbs. I have access to them. I know how to use them safely. I know what signs to look out for if people. So a lot of these herbs have what's called a narrow therapeutic range. So their range of therapy have to go up to a certain dose to get some therapeutic benefit to it. But then the dosage for toxicity is very close to that range. So, you're looking, you have to be quite careful to how many mils per week in 100 you give somebody. Wow. Otherwise, you can then create, they're not side effects. They are the effects of the plant, but in a high dose. So they're not side effects in that respect. They're just effects of what the plant does if you give them too much. So, yes, I have them locked away under key in my cupboard. But they have their uses. They have the use. I mean, that's where digoxin comes from, digitalis. And that's one of, that's where it comes from, is from our plants, and that's up in my locked cupboard. So I have it to hand. So it's things like that. But it's really interesting how the herbs of the moon are quite cold. Now, on that note, one of the herbs of the moon that's one of my favorites, and it is one of the best herbs, and it's growing, just beginning to start growing now, is cleavers. What's that? Cleavers, sticky willy, goosegrass.
Oh, goosegrass! Yeah, bloody dog
goosegrass.
eats it like it's going out of fashion. I've had to pull all mine up in the garden because the new dog's going around chomping it.
Yeah, well, if they're wanting it, it's because they're needing to cleanse themselves. It is one of the best lymphatic herbs ever. It's really good for shifting things out of the body. You grab a handful of it, stick it into cafetiere, pour some boiling water over it, leave it to infuse for 5 minutes, leave it for as long as you like, taste, depending on your taste, and then just drink it. It's got a slightly green asparagus-y flavor to it. So if you're not, and it's quite thin, like a lot of herb teas are, if you are more used to your PG tips and your thick coffees. Herb teas are quite thin in comparison. And this one is because the water content in cleavers is very, very high, which is why fresh is better. So when we're having tinctures, which way am I moving my body? So all behind me, those are tinctures. And down here, God, it's weird doing it this way. Don't know where my finger's going. They're an alcohol-based preparation. Now, some of the majority of tinctures actually made from dried material, but cleavers is made from the fresh material because it's got such a high water content. And it's connected to the moon. Sorry?
Does it cleanse the entire body, or does it go to a specific?
No, it cleanses the whole entire body. So we use it for skin, we use it for swollen glands, you use it in cancer, you use it in anything where there's blockages in the stagnation, there is stasis. You look at it for people who need to start flowing and need to start moving. So boils, swollen glands, so Epstein-Barr glandular fever, you use it for colds and flus and viruses. So if the glands are up here, or if the glands are up in the groin or under the arm, it is one of the key herbs, and it's coming up now, which of course is quite interesting. I know we talked about this the other day. Winter is when we eat our starchy roots. If we're sort of following biodynamics, and they're quite high in sugars, they're quite high in fiber and carbs. And when you come into the spring, if you look at what herbs come up in the spring, they are all herbs and plants that help flush through the body. They're called, and the old term is blood purifiers. They are herbs that that re-nourish, replenish, that shift things through. So you've got your nettle, you've got your burdock, you've got your cleavers, you've got your primula, cowslip, all these plants that are just slowly creeping through. Dandelion and snowdrops, by the way, no, that's a different thing. They are being, daffodils are being looked into for Parkinson's disease. There's a specific breed of Narcissus. There's a farm in Wales, by the way, that breeds daffodils purely to create the drug for Parkinson's. Yeah, so that, again, another tangent. So not daffodils or snowdrops. So those two that are growing up right now, they're not in this category. But dandelion leaves are coming up. Really good diuretic. There's a really natural balance in dandelion leaves for potassium as well. So if you have too much of diuretic, you tend to flush out potassium. You need to rebalance that. So again, bringing back in again.
Wow. So going back to dogs, and I see Paul has just mentioned this.
Yes.
It's safe for the dogs to eat. They're not going to kill my dog.
No. So what the dog is telling you is that they're needing to cleanse their blood. They're looking to clear something out of their body. You're looking to shift toxins. You're looking to shift energies. You're looking to flush through. Purify, I think, would be an extreme word, I think.
And we've rehomed her because she's 13 months old. So she's been rehomed. She's been with us for 3 weeks tomorrow. So she's probably shifting through everything that's gone before. And she's trying to process being in a new environment with a dog. So she's cleansed. How bloody hell I'm gobsmacked.
But of course, you're not just cleansing through physical stuff. You're
emotional.
Cleansing your emotional stuff. So if you're processing a lot of emotions, there's always waste. I see this time and time again. People have physical manifestations when they are clearing their emotions, and that will be gastric upsets. So people become more constipated, or they become looser boweled. They'll become breathless. They'll get headaches. Their sleep become disrupted. And it's not that they are becoming ill, but what they're doing is that they have their lymph system, their eliminatory processes aren't strong enough to process the waste products from the emotions that they are resolving within them. So and
it's that whole holistic approach, isn't it? That whole mind, body, spirit.
So it's rather like with headaches. If you end up taking a paracetamol because you are emotionally overwrought, what you're not doing is you're not allowing your body to actually get rid of that waste. You're just suppressing it. So you will keep that emotion, you'll keep that waste, that negative stuff back in you. And you need to, so the best thing to do, and, in an ideal world, you'll do this, in a non-ideal world, if you've got children, you've got a business, whatever, and you have to live and you have to get going, you have to get on. Sometimes grabbing that paracetamol is needed, or you can grab a herb, but it's needed. But if you can, respond to what your body is telling you. Your body is telling you you need a bath, you need a hot water bottle, you need a mug of chamomile tea, and you need to go to bed with a good book. And go to sleep. And if you listen to your body and respond to that, you will come out fresher and cleaner the next morning.
Absolutely. The other it wasn't last night, it was the night before. 20 past 8. I said to Kev, I'm going to bed, I've had it. He says 20 past 8. I said, is this the face of concern? I'm knackered. I'm going to bloody bed. And I took the dogs out and did their wheeze and I think I finally got to about 10 past 20 past 9. And Kev was there before me. He's like, no, I'm knackered. I'm joining you. That's it. Because you have just got to listen to your body. Right, there's a bit of a vote going on here. Actually, you need to write a book, apparently. Kate.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, it is. It's fascinating. I knew you guys would enjoy Kate.
So
I find her fascinating to talk to, and when we can be doing person stuff, and we can do the fairs, and so I tend to do pamper evenings, and obviously I always go and novel Kate for at least half an hour, don't I? And catch up and have a, I go, oh, Kate, this has happened and that's happened. I go, oh, woe me to Kate. But there we go. So
there we go. So I just want
can we take some questions? Do you want to take some questions?
Yeah, take some questions. Go for it.
Go on then, guys. If you've got any questions, let Kate catch her breath again. And otherwise, if they haven't got any, then we'll just either wind it
Sometimes,
up. Kate's got anything
sometimes
else to say?
people end up having questions afterwards because, you know, they sort of like they're busy churning and taking everything on board.
No worries, Faye. Faye's saying she's late. That doesn't matter. So she's saying some of it she knew, some of it she didn't. That's really cool.
Yeah,
so that's good stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Excellent. So while you lot are typing your questions or thinking about questions, so we've got Manda Michaelin on. So next Friday night, I'm on with Manda, and we are talking all about astrology, which I think is a perfect follow-on from tonight and our full moon chat with Kate and herbs and things. So me and Manda are talking about what we're talking about. We're talking about astrology, about charts, your rising sign, your moon sign, your something else sign. I've got no idea what any of those things mean. A bit like I didn't with some of the herbs. So we're talking all things astrology with Amanda next week. So Peter Jane saying she'd like to know more about this. Well, you can make an appointment with Kate because she's bloody awesome. Kate saying, have you got any recommendations for a hormone balance? Kate is from Manda. Let's just put that one up from Manda. Hang on, show that. There we go.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Amanda. Nice to see you. And actually, yes, I was going to come on to a little bit for about astrology and bring it into herbs and stuff too. I thought it would be a really nice segue into you, and actually maybe you and I could talk about it another time. Oh gosh, hormone balance. Well, yes and no. The standard one that a lot of people have heard of is chaste tree berry, or Vitex agnus castus. A lot of people have heard of. Rather like echinacea, most people know the Latin rather than the common, which is unusual. The thing about Vitex is that it is appropriate for some people, but not appropriate for everybody. And often people can end up with actually a really negative experience using Vitex. So although it is an over-the-counter product that people can buy, absolutely go ahead and give it a go. If it doesn't work, that doesn't mean that the herbs don't work. It means that Vitex is not the hormone balance for you. The other hormone balances that I use happen to be Angelica sinensis, which is Dangui. It's a Chinese herb that I use a lot of. For women, ladies' mantle is really good. What other hormone balance? Anything that helps and supports the liver, that's always good, because if there's hormones are out of balance, then the liver is going to be struggling. And if you can start to support in the liver, you'll be surprised at how soon the hormones can start to rebalance. So the two main ones that we look to use there are dandelion root or milk thistle. And again, both of these, I would say absolutely go ahead and try them. If you're not noticing any difference, then come and speak to me. Hormones are such a complex subject, and I'm suspecting that, Amanda, your question about hormones is actually gynecological related as opposed to thyroid or any other hormone that's going on. But of course, your thyroid is connected. Nothing is disconnected. Everything is connected. But I suspect you're talking here about sort of gynae hormones. If you're looking for premenstrual tension hormones support, then again, it's things like dandelion and milk thistle. It will be things like, which is orange peel, bitter orange. It will be things, gosh, what other things would I use for PMS? Everything is so different for PMS for everybody. I might use some passion flower. I might use a bit of motherwort. Motherwort is a really good thyroid hormone, but often it's really good for those who need mothering themselves. So if people are needing a little bit of mothering, sometimes they're the ones who are caring for other people and they need to be cared for. So a little bit of mothering goes a long way. So motherwort, like I say, it's really good for the thyroid, but also really good for your heart. Other sort of PMT herbs that I use could include Romania, prepared Romania, which again is another Chinese herb. Might do Bupleurum. There's quite a range of different herbs, and the reason I'm hesitating about saying which one is definitely the one to have, is because everyone's presentation is different. Everyone's different reason for the PMT is different. Most of the time it's there's liver stagnation going on there. There might be heat stasis happening. So again, they will, gynae conditions respond hugely to a TCM approach. And that's when you really nail down. Everyone presents slightly differently, whether you dizziness, whether you sigh, believe it or not, sighing. If you sigh, if you're somebody who knows that they sigh, you have, your liver is stagnated. So you've got stuck liver.
Oh.
So again, a little bit of liver clearing, so you could try things like lemon water at home. You could do lemon water. You could do some spirulina, some chlorella. You could give yourself some bone broth, a bit of nourishing of foods that can help with those sorts of issues.
Wow.
And so actually following on from that, quite interestingly enough, one of the things that really came up in conversations with other herbalists around the effect of the moon was those who are taking the oral contraceptive pill.
Okay.
Because the oral contraceptive pill, it creates a hormonal disharmony within the moon because of the artificial hormones that are going on.
Yeah.
So people can end up really quite unsettled from that. It doesn't flow. So they end up with these really stuck emotions that aren't being cleared with the moon like they would normally.
Yeah.
So and because they're on these artificial hormones, they can't have the PMT that's telling you what is going on. By the way, PMT tells me an awful lot of what is happening within somebody and how they're responding to their life. So if you are on this pill, you don't go through a healing process of having your period. So the periods are the process for your body to rebalance, to heal, to regenerate with the last month. It can be your last year. It could be your last lifetime. The periods are there to reflect what is going on within you. I know I just saw a point about endometriosis and motherhood. Absolutely, Serena, fantastic. I am talking broadly here about gynae problems. I am fully appreciative of PMDD. I'm fully appreciative of PCOS and endometriosis, which, interestingly enough, both PCOS and endometriosis, there is a huge emotional component that we look at. And I realize we're moving away from the full cycle, so I do apologize for that. But I just wanted to say that the full moon aspect, if you are on the contraceptive pill for whatever reason, it's always worth checking in with yourself as to what are the signs and symptoms you are experiencing, because your body cannot fully connect and flow with the moon and keeping with those cycles, that ebb and that flow, the buildup of tension, the release of tension, the buildup of blood, the release of blood, the buildup of energy, the release of energy, the buildup of emotions, and letting go and moving on from emotions. If you're on the pill, this natural wave is not able to happen. So it, as energy has to go somewhere. It can't not go anywhere. Yeah. And even if it becomes stuck energy, it's still going somewhere. It's just blocked energy. Yeah. So check within yourself as to what else is going on. And either come talk to me, or you may find that you can explore other ways to release that, or other ways to connect to the full moon in possibly, say, a more energetic perspective. So that might be something that Amanda's going to touch on with astrology. For other people who meditate or do tarot readings or are using crystals or things like that, you may find that by using other skills and other methods, you are able to undo that blockages within you and allow that process to go through and still have the pill. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So Amanda said she's going to come and chat to you, and how can she book in?
So book in, email me at Kate at Horse Chestnut Herbals.
Hang on, I'll type it in there, Kate. Hold on, Kate
okay.
at Horse Chestnut Herbals. Horse Chestnut Herbals. What?
.co.uk. Excuse me.
Right. Have I? Oh, why can't I do that? Go in.
Yep. You did right. Yeah.
There we go.
Yep.
What else we got?
Yeah.
Other ones we got. I saw a couple of quite interesting ones here actually. So somebody's asking about asthma symptoms. A little person. I saw somebody ask about a little person as well. What did I just say about a little person?
Any advice for a small moon? Karen, who reacts to both the new moon and the full moon. Oh, bless you, Karen. Gosh, my heart goes out to you. Yes, I have small people, and for them, emotions are big. They're huge, and they don't have. They are reacting from their amygdala. They don't have that executive functioning. They're not using their frontal lobes. It's too big for them. So you are not going to be able to reason with them or talk logic to them. I don't know what age your small people are, but from the ages of 2, when people talk about the terrible twos, when in fact actually all it is that they are having a hormonal growth spurt, they're having a developmental growth spurt, and all developmental growth spurts start with the primitive and then move to the latter stages. So puberty, you start with the primitive, you start with those big emotions that I hate you from your kids slamming the door, and then the executive function comes through, and that's when they start talking to you again when they're 18, 19. Possibly
they can learn the art of speech again, don't they?
Yeah, they learn the art of speech. Exactly, because their executive functioning has caught up with their emotional development. But nonetheless, so with the small person who reacts to both the moon, there I would definitely look at keeping sugar content low, just from a dietary perspective, if you can. Okay, so every child is slightly different. I would use chamomile baths. So make a teapot of chamomile tea and then add it into their bath water. So when I did that with my small people, I would actually make it at around lunchtime, just before the school run or something, and then would pour it into their bath at night. The smallest ones would think it was hilarious because the bath water turns yellow. Lots of things you can talk about yellow water with small people. They think it's brilliant. Then you can give chamomile tea in a cup, either diluted. Lime is really good. Lime flower, good old Tilias. That's also really good for grounding people. Lime flower is a beautiful, beautiful herb. Very gentle, absolutely fantastic for children with anxiety. By the way, really good herb, really nice blend, chamomile and lime flower. You can get really, really nice blends of those. Those are the 2 herbs that I would definitely start with for a small child. I would, so if a child came to me with these sorts of issues, I would be looking at adding rose, give them rose drops. I would be looking to give them some bitter orange drops as well within a small bottle, and they just take them, like a rescue remedy or the bark flower remedies. I either do it in drops or sometimes in that purely 100% scientific term, squirt. Sometimes you get squirt with a dropper and just squirt it in, and it's just enough to start bringing them down and helping them to ground themselves. The other thing I would say is that when your child is in that state, whatever else is happening in your days, as much as you possibly can, stay with that child until they go to sleep. Stay with that child, be present for the child, because they don't know what's happening to them. And that will be scary too. They will be also responding out of fear because they are overwhelmed. These big emotions are scary, they're terrifying, they don't know how to handle them. They don't know how to respond, and their bodies are going in all sorts of weird and wonderful ways. They just don't know. And they need you to create that space where it's okay and they can feel safe within that. And that might mean having them attached to you all day long. It might mean sitting down and just simply being with them. It might mean doing your emails late at night. But if you can, the more you can hold that space for them and stay with them until they fall asleep, so they know they are safe, you'll find that over time, each time they get to new moon, each time they get to full moon, the reaction becomes less. If the reaction then builds back up again, that's your cue, that's your signal that something was happening in those 2 weeks. prior to that event that is unsettling to that child, that will be quietly preying on their mind. So it could be a new school, it could be going on an outing with some people and they struggled with their behavior and they didn't like some responses that from other children or from other parents. So you, again, use this as a cue. So your child who's reacting to the moon, he's a very emotional child. So look after those emotions, look after that sensitivity. And then as things settle and they feel secure, they are your clues as to when things aren't quite so balanced in that child's life.
Amazing. Amazing. Let's just get rid of that one. Thank you, Kate.
You're welcome.
Now I saw another one. Don't see Debbie on here very often. What herbs are good for eczema?
Eczema. Oh my goodness me. Eczema is a huge subject. That's huge. You've got all sorts of different presentations for eczema: dry, wet, infected, where it's located. There's quite a lot of different herbs that we use, a range of herbs. Sometimes in TCM they're called fire poison herbs, detoxifying fire poison, and those are your psoriasis, your really quite, or your severe eczema, really severe eczema. Sometimes you're looking at fire poison herbs. I do like that term. Sounds quite funky. And when you're telling a child it's fire poison, they kind of connect with you as well. Other herbs, so the herbs that that you can use that are off the shelf, or things like nettles, chickweed is good, nettle. If it's itching, a little bit of peppermint essential oil within a cream base is always good. Sometimes I use St. John's wort infused oil in my cream bases. Sometimes I put a bit of licorice into my cream bases. Eczema is always internal as well as external.
I was going to say, there's no connection to liver and eczema.
Yeah, there's a connection to but there's also a connection to the emotions as well. So you might be looking at some herbs that have an emotional component to them. So passion flower is often really quite good here. Heartsease is really good in this one. Marigold's a really good one. So you could do a marigold and oat bath, for instance. So dried. Yeah, so an oat bath is really good, and you can add it on with some marigold flowers. I would definitely, the one from a nutritional aspect, definitely dairy. Invariably, eczema comes with hay fever and asthma. Dairy is one of the key. All of these three particular conditions are all wet, moist conditions. Even the eczema that comes across as dry, there will be a wet and phlegm imbalance within you. And dairy, delicious as it is, I do like my cheese. Dairy is a very phlegmy, moist. I mean, if you think of what it is, you think of the product, it's very moist, it's very phlegmy. And dairy is definitely, if you cut dairy out, increase your fish oils. And I know we're not talking herbs, but cut dairy out, increase your fish oils. Things will start to make a change. If they don't make a change, then you've got more of a deep-seated issue, and that's needing a little bit more of a look at what's going on. So you tend to start with a cleansing, and you tend to start with a cleansing within the body, and then you slowly move in herbs that start to restore and replenish the skin.
There we go. Amazing. Kate, thank you so much. So have you got anything else you'd like to say, or are we done?
Well, there was just, I wanted to just slightly touch on just bringing in with to Amanda with regards to using the moon to talk about how people diagnosed years ago, and it's still done a little bit with a few people who have got this skill, and they're called Decompature Charts.
Oh, we talked about it the other day, didn't we?
Yeah.
What's that?
I know. And it's where when somebody goes to see a practitioner who does this, and I don't, the practitioner will make a note and look at the stars as to when you went to see the practitioner, when it happened, when the illness or the acute situation started. And from that, they will then be able to, using a Decompature chart, which is your astrological chart, and Amanda will know much more detail than I do about this sort of thing. They are then able to identify different herbs which fall under different planets. So where I was talking to you about the herbs that fall under the moon, you've got herbs that fall under the sun. Marigold, for example, falls under the sun. You'll then be able to identify which herbs work best for that person. And it's all based using astrology, because traditionally, those who wanted to practice medicine had to study astrology, had to study maths, had to study geometry before they were even allowed to even look at medicine. And if I can draw very quickly.
Isn't she a incredible mine of information, this woman?
So my light. So here, so a lot of people, so RX is used by a lot of medics all over the world to mean prescription. Okay. The origin of that is can't do it. Sorry, everybody. That sign.
Is what sign?
Is that.
Yeah.
Which is in fact, no, I can't move my finger. There you go. Which is that. Which is in fact the sign for Jupiter, which is, and Amanda, apologies if I get this totally wrong. So that's Jupiter. With the sign for Pre, which is your Arbit. Yep. And what it's saying is Jupiter is all up here. And what it's saying is that when you are thinking of what prescription to make somebody, you look above you for inspiration, and then you come. So the expression mind over matter, your mind over your matter. The mind here is over your matter. So you are looking for inspiration to begin with, and then it comes to here, and then it comes through into your body, and then you know what herbs to give somebody.
Amazing.
I love that. So I was thinking about the people, how people feel about full moons and everything. And one of the things I do have is I have got a tea that I call Wired and Tired, which is, again, as you can see, I'm so used to where my camera is. Can anyone see those herbs? So in it is rose, chamomile, vervain, go-to cola.
What cola? Coca-Cola?
I know. Go-to cola.
Go-to cola.
Nice. You could do that one. And a couple of others. And it's a really lovely blend that help you to calm down within yourself. So if you are, and it literally does what it says on it, it's called Wired and Tired. So if you're feeling wired and tired, you're feeling anxious, it just helps to calm you. Now, what I've noticed and people have reported back to me is that it makes them, if they drink it in the morning, they fall asleep. So they tend to drink it in the afternoons, because what it does is it relaxes you so much that the body goes, oh, thank heavens for that. I can go to sleep.
Can I have
some? Yes, absolutely. I'll put some in the pastry. But I just want to say that that's a really nice, it's a really gentle blend of herbs that that is really good for feeling wired at this time of the month.
Perfect. Amazing.
Faye Torres asked, what do you recommend for people processing emotions to help their bodies? No, I wouldn't suggest nettles, actually. I would suggest more things like wild lettuce. I would use things like bitter orange. I would use things like wood betony. I would use things like passion flower, possibly some hawthorn to strengthen the heart. Borage gives people courage. Like I say, motherwort is mothering. Passion flower is calming. So I would look to use those sorts of herbs when people are wanting to process some of their emotions. And I tend to use those sorts of herbs in either a dropper format, or I create a small bottle and you just take 5 mils as and when you need it.
There we go. Thank you. And one last one from Deborah. Ha! Ha!
Hi,
stop
Debbie.
Eating, Deb. Me and you to stop eating, girl.
Hi, Debbie. Lovely to see you. Lovely to see you. Weight loss. Yes and no. There's no direct herbs for help with weight loss. It's more weight loss would possibly be connected to your thyroid. It's connected to blood sugar levels. So you're looking at herbs like gymnema, fenugreek. You're looking at herbs such as motherwort, for instance, as well. Again, bringing motherwort in. It's one of my favorite herbs at the moment. I'm using it a lot. I'm seeing a lot of people that need mothering. Actually, this year, a lot of people have needed some mothering. There is one herb that is used quite a bit, and that's Coleus forsythia, which is a mushroom, but it works when it's done in tandem with other herbs and nutrition, etc. One herb I would advise people not to use for weight loss is a herb called Ephedra sinica, which is the original Ventolin. It's where our Ventolin inhalers actually come from. They extrapolated epinephrine from this plant Ephedra, worked out that it would open up the bronchioles, and then unfortunately when you do that, your blood pressure goes through the roof. The Ephedra plant, you don't get that unless you take it in high doses. The Ephedra plant actually has another active ingredient that brings down the blood pressure whilst actually opening up your airways. But one of the things that Ephedra is used for in over-the-counter products is for weight loss. Because it is a stimulant, because it helps to really drive you. And if you're driven, then you burn up more energy. And I would definitely be very wary. I would not advise that in any over-the-counter products. You don't get quite so many over here in the UK, it's mostly in the US, but it is seen over here occasionally in the UK. So that would be my one note of caution there. But Ephedra, by the way, is really good for hay fever. And I saw somebody up there asking about asthma. Hay fever is really good. Ephedra is really, hay fever is really good. Ephedra is really good for asthma if it has an allergic origin, if it has a histamine origin. Asthma is huge. Again, that's another big subject. So if people are asthmatic, what are they not releasing? What are they afraid of saying? Why are they afraid to breathe? Got quite big questions there. But equally, are they high in histamine? Is there inflammatory issues going on? Have they got loads of phlegm going on in their chest? And the Ephedra, if you have asthma with hay fever type symptoms, then Ephedra is one of the key herbs. And I use it today. I'm not very good, by the way, at dispensing dry teas and powders. I sneeze like crazy and I get a tight chest. I usually have to ask my husband to help me. And so that I just get a really, really bad reaction. And this morning I just took a 20ml shot. And Ephedra is one of those restricted herbs I was mentioning earlier. I just took myself a 20ml shot of this. Within seconds, it all cleared up. I was like, yay for herbs. And I could breathe and I didn't sneeze. But it has asthma. So elecampane, mullein is really good. Hyssop's really good. So do people know hyssop? Do you know hyssop, Caroline?
Yeah, I've heard of hyssop.
Yes. Yeah. Hyssop's really good with asthma as well. And I would also add into that vitamin C and vitamin D for asthma.
Fantastic. Right, Kate, what is your website? www.
Horse chestnut herbals. Everything is horse chestnut herbals.
Is that including face ache?
Yep. Face ache, Instagram. It's absolutely. I kept it simple. I can't do complicated things.
No.
So,
are you .com?
No. .co.uk. Yeah.
Where'd it go? Hang on, I've lost it.
I don't know.
There it is. If I start that right again, horse chestnut herbals. Yeah. And there's Kate's website. Now you can order your teas because you've got your teas made up to go, and they can just order the teas online, can't they? You've got over the counter stuff you sell, haven't you?
Yes. So I've got teas that I can sell over the counter. I've got a couple of drops that I can sell over the counter. Most of this, we're slightly hamstrung in that things have to be one-to-one and face-to-face contact in order to sell quite a few products. However, teas easily I've got some chill out drops, which a lot of children use with effectiveness, an anxiety inhaler that people use and things like that. Yes. Yes, you do. Yes. You've got your own ones. You've got your special ones. They're not, I don't.
Okay.
You're unique, Caroline.
I have a tweaked version.
You're a tweaked version. And the teas and things will be on my shop in the next few days. My shop is just being set up at this moment in time. But if I'm not quite sure when it's going to be fully done, but do please just email me and I can send them out to you. I tend to send them out in 50-gram tea bags, and it lasts, I recommend between 2 and 3 grams per cup, and then you can play around with the weight, play around with the infusion, the length of time you have infusing it, because everybody is different. Some people need weak, small doses and get the same effect as somebody who needs large amounts with strong doses. Everybody is individual. Play with it for your taste. So roughly a 50-gram bag gives you roughly, she says doing some maths, 23 to 25 cups of tea.
Perfect. Kate, thank you so much. As ever, it's been a ball and fascinating. I always enjoy chatting to you. I hope you guys have. I'm sure you guys have. I know it's not dragon based, but I just thought it was, because of the conversation we've had over the last few months about the full moon and how we all can feel so crap. I just thought Kate would be really, really worth coming on and to chat to about, about this kind of thing. So Kate, amazing. Thank you so much. And I can't wait to have a cup of coffee.
Oh, that'd be so good. Have a real good natter.
Not too much longer now, is it? I think we can, isn't it April? We can get together and have coffee. I shall look forward to that. In the meantime, guys, I will see you all back here next Friday night. And Kate's details are on there. I've stuck Kate's links in so you can get hold of her through Horse Chestnut Herbals on Facebook, Insta, website, and everywhere else. And I hope you've enjoyed it. And I'll see you back here with Manda on Friday, talking about astrology and stars.
Yay!
Take care, guys. Big love. See you all next week. Bye for now.